Welcome everybody. I'm going to talk about improving collaboration. So if you're not in it for that, you can still switch rooms. All right, so it started all before COVID. At that time, it was quite normal to meet colleagues at the coffee machine. We were all sitting together, working at the office. And when we had a question, we can just walk up to the whiteboard and draw something together. But after that, when COVID happened, we were basically working in silos. So we were only seeing our teammates through Microsoft Teams or another tool for conferencing. We were working from home, and there was not so much collaboration. So the question I want to ask during this talk is, how can we improve collaboration now we don't coincidentally work together? A small thing about me, I'm Paul van der Slot. I'm a freelance software engineer. I'm a big fan of domain-driven design and collaborative modeling and way more things. And here you see a picture of me with my girlfriend and my son in a boat in Rotterdam. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? First, about the benefits of collaboration, and then about 3 stages where we can improve collaboration: understanding the problem, designing together, and developing together. So first, on the benefits of collaboration. Why should we collaborate in the first place? What do we gain by it? Well, for one, it increases joy in your team if you do things together with other people. Another thing that is a benefit is that you get higher quality when you collaborate. So the saying is two know more than one, for instance. So that's one of the benefits. Another one is increased shared understanding. So when you don't collaborate and you assume that you know the same things, you just don't know. And at the end, when you make it explicit and you draw something on a whiteboard, then you can see, oh, is this what you meant? I thought it was quite different. I thought it was like this. And then while collaborating, you increase shared understanding and also increase quality because both insights are taken into account. Another one is increased learning. So by just, like we're doing now, sitting here and watching is not of the best ways of learning things. Actually doing something and participating is way better. So we'll learn more about what you are building. And as well, people are more engaged and have an increased buy-in on the product when they are collaborating. If you are just doing something that's ordered, you have less buy-in and less engagement at that moment. Okay, so collaboration has positive effects. But what is needed for good collaboration is the question. Well, I like to think about that as something that my mother said: treat others the way you want to be treated. So if we think about that, how do you want to be treated when you are collaborating with someone else? It would be nice if you have someone with an open attitude. And what helps there is if you don't know something, you admit that and say, I don't know. And then people start opening up and talking to you. While if you say, I know better, you actually shut down collaboration. And people are not likely to talk to you and say what is on their mind. Another quite obvious one is listening to the other. It would be nice if others would listen to our ideas. Respecting each other's ideas and involving others. And what is also a quite important part here is be aware of your place in the group. If you're the leader of the group, one who's already there for a long time and are quite talkative, it would be nice if you lead by example. So say, hey, you don't speak up that much. What do you think? So lead by example. And another one is be trustworthy. So otherwise, others won't open up towards you because they're afraid of what you're going to do with what they say. So that's about the benefits of collaboration. Now about understanding the problem. And let's pause for a second and think. I assume that most of you are software engineers. What are your responsibilities as a software engineer? Well, one of the most forgotten things is understanding the business. People mostly think about, okay, I have to code, I have to test, DevOps comes into mind. But how about understanding the business? And there's a great paper about from Gergely Oros about this, where Silicon Valley's companies really get it. They see engineers more like value generators and creative problem solvers, instead of just factory workers who do the things that they're ordered to. So in the past, people thought about responsibilities as all the steps in the process were the responsibility of different people. For instance, understanding the needs for the product owner, developing for the developer, and deploying for operations. But this really shifted towards that all these parts are the responsibility of the software engineer. Of course, we are all T-shaped, so not everyone has as much interest in every part. One person is really interested in deploying things, the other one in understanding the needs. But what is said by Gergely Oros is that this part is where the creative problem solving is, in understanding the needs and designing the solution. So you should ask yourself, is this really something that we want one person to be responsible for? Like, for instance, the product owner. So onto the role of the product owner. Let's do a show of hands. So who sees the product owner as a requirements machine? Okay, and who as a passionate visionary? Cool, okay, I'm glad that you guys agree with me. So I think it would be best if you challenge your product owner to be more like a passionate visionary and ask him or her to start with why. So why are we doing this? And if you've done that, also challenge the product owner to give a roadmap of what we are going to build with the big milestones of what we want to achieve. And if you have that, you can start challenging that roadmap with the whole team and developing and challenging the milestones that are thought of as well. And when that is done, you can even try together to split up the milestones into even smaller parts, so that you have fast feedback, because that's something that XP and Scrum have taught us, that we want fast feedback. So let's deliver the smallest thing possible. And a tip that I have on that part is make a monthly meeting about the roadmap and focus on the why. And also make it visual and open for participation, so that you can do this together with your whole team. Okay, now I'm going to give an example on what I mean by that. Okay, so this is an example without a why. So there's a requirement. As a finance employee, I want to download the report in Excel so I can judge if we're on schedule with received payments. Well, you can think that it's very hard to collaborate on this part. It's already quite fixed. While if the product owner shares this, okay, we have a problem. We receive payments often late, and we even forget about them sometimes. And there's no overview on this. So what is my plan? I want to create a payments overview, and after that, I want to trigger reminders for almost overdue payments. And this is something where you can really collaborate. So you can say, okay, sounds like a good plan, but triggering reminders, is that really what we want? What don't we want? Maybe an automated process that triggers the people who need to pay? Or so that's where questions can arise, and I hope you can see that in the first example that you might not even end up at that point. Okay, so about collaborative design. So how to collaborate online? Well, in the old ways, when we were just at the office, we would just walk up to a whiteboard and draw something, and we were sitting in the same room. But how to do that nowadays? And what really helps, in my opinion, are tools like Miro and Mural. It's about real-time working together. You can stop at any time, continue at any time, and you can just collaborate like it was in a whiteboard. And an extra benefit of this is that it's also like persisted. You can go back to that drawing at any time, while at a whiteboard, most of the time after a day is gone. So for people who don't know Miro and Mural, I have 2 screenshots of both of them to give an impression. So for Miro, this is an example of what you can do with it. There's way more, but you see some drawing about design, some creative things with stickies, but also really UX things can be done in that. agendas. And the idea is, you see here, hopefully you see it, Matthew and Emily working at the same time in the same document. So it's really like at a whiteboard. Everyone can grab a marker and just join. And the same thing for Mural. So this is an example for Mural. It also has like agendas and things like that. They're quite similar, but I would really advise on using tools like this. Okay, so about designing together. I first talked about creating milestones together. Now, if we have those milestones, how do we detail that information and design how we want to implement technically that milestone? Well, what worked for me was just start drawing. So open, for instance, Miro, and just start drawing together what you think would be obvious. And if you have questions, put them up on the whiteboard with like a red sticky note with the question that you have, and try to answer that question. And seek shared understanding together. So when you do that, you will see the picture evolve, and at the end you have kind of the global design of what you're wanting to build. And if you have new insights at a later moment, update the drawing. And to be clear, there's obviously no silver bullet on this. You should do what works best for your team to understand what needs to be done. But I have some tips on doing this. So what worked for me is plan time for this on a regular basis with your team. So once a week, once a sprint, think about the big picture that you want to achieve and draw together about how you want to do that. You can test your design with concrete examples, like in Gherkin scenarios, for instance. When you have the big picture, you can split up that work into product backlog items or to user stories, so that you also have like an end result of those sessions, like small bits of work that need to be done. And use it as a living artifact during implementation. So when you are actually building it, you can go back to it and see, okay, this design, where does it fit in the big picture? And how? And if you have new insights at that moment, you can change the design. And it also helps as some kind of documentation. And obviously, there are a lot of techniques that can help you with doing this, like event storming and example mapping. And if you're curious about those techniques, you should look them up on the internet. They're really cool things. Okay, then finally, about developing together. So preparation was done. Let's get started. Let's get coding. But what happens? Unexpected errors will occur, or problems will occur. Maybe when you start thinking about the details or where you started to work, things didn't work out as you expected. So what really helps at that point is pair programming. So I would really advise on pair programming. And that is also quite well known these days. There are a lot of benefits of pair programming. This is from Martin Fowler's blog post. But next to figuring out the problems, there are a lot of more benefits. Although it's quite known that there are a lot of benefits about pair programming, not everyone does it as often as they could. So how about, what can you do to make pair programming work in your team? Well, some tips are, you should block agendas to pair program multiple times a week. So just block blocks of like 3 to 4 hours several times a week to actually do it. Switch pairs regularly so that you pair with the different persons from your team and not only every time with the same person. Also switch roles deliberately, like driver and navigator. You can find more on this on the internet. And use online tooling like these ones. And they are getting better and better. So, overview about this talk. Be a teammate that is easy to collaborate with. Focus on why you are building things. Design together using tools like Miro and Mural. And make pair programming work in your team. Thanks a lot for your attention. This was the talk. And feel free to rate it in the app. And if you have questions, hunt me down during lunch or later today. Thanks a lot.